In this video, we're going to solve 3 mini projects in Python for beginners. We'll learn how to automate WhatsApp, send emails with attachments, and generate Excel reports with one click. Okay, let's start with the first project. Okay, the first method to send messages in WhatsApp using Python is using a library named PyWhatKit. This library allows us to easily send messages in WhatsApp. So first, what I'm going to do is open a terminal. I'm here on PyCharm and I'm going to write pip install PyWhatKit. So this is the name of the library. And keep in mind that I'm installing this in a virtual environment, and I highly recommend you to install it in a virtual environment because this library has a lot of dependencies. So you want to avoid some conflict, so install it in a virtual environment. So I'm gonna hit enter and now it's gonna install. So in my case, I have this library already installed, so I have the message requirement already satisfied, but probably it's gonna take some seconds or even a minute for you to install this library. All right, now that we have the library installed, I'm gonna close up the terminal and I'm gonna import this library. So I'm gonna write import PyWhatKit, and to send a message, I write PyWhatKit.send msg. And inside, I'm going to use these parameters. So the first one is the phone number, as you can see here. The second one is the message. The third one is the time in hours. And the fourth one is the time in minutes. So for the phone number, I'm going to write the phone number with the country code. So we write plus the country code. For example, in America, I think it's +1, and then any number you want. The second one is the message you want to send, and I'm going to write just test, then the time in hours. So here I write the time, I think here is 7:17 in the morning, so I'm going to write here 7 in hours, and then in minutes I'm going to write 7:21. Now in the phone number, I'm not going to write the phone number. I'm going to hide it because I don't want to get any message. So here I'm going to define a variable just for the sake of this video, which is named phone number. Now I write input, and here I write enter phone number. So every time I run this script, it's going to ask me for the phone number and I'm going to write it. So here I'm going to delete this and I'm going to just copy and paste it. You don't need to define this variable. You can write the phone number here. All right, before running this script, keep in mind that in the browser that you use, you need to log into WhatsApp manually. So go ahead and go to your browser, Google Chrome or Safari, and log into WhatsApp using the QR code before we run this code. So I already did this and I'm just gonna run this code and try it out. So I'm gonna check 7:19 is now. So I wanna get the results faster. So I'm gonna put 7:20. So now I run this and I wait a couple of seconds, but first I need to introduce the phone number, and I paste the number and it says in 4 seconds, WhatsApp will open, and after 15 seconds, it will deliver your message. So now WhatsApp's opening. Now it wrote my message, as you can see below on the bottom of the screen. So now let's wait 15 seconds and it's gonna send the message. So as you can see here, it just sent the message, which is test, and it did it just without any problem. Now I'm going back to PyCharm and I close this one, and I'm gonna show you different things you can do with this library. Okay, you can add more parameters to this method, and you can even close the window that was open. So before we open this WhatsApp window, but as you can see, the window is still there. So we can add a parameter in the method to indicate that we want the window to close after we send the message. So to do that, we only, I'm gonna copy and paste this one, and we need to add 2 or 3 more parameters. First is the wait time. As you can see here, the wait time is by default 15. So I'm just gonna leave it 15. So this is the seconds that you have to wait before the the message is delivered. So I'm going to leave it as 15 seconds. This is not so important, but now we see this one, tab_close. So this indicates whether we want to close the windows or not. So this is by default set to false, and we're going to set it equal to true. So I write true. And finally, we have close time. So these are the number of seconds that we're going to wait until the tab is closed. So I'm going to set this to 2 seconds. And basically what we're saying here is that we want the tab to close after the message is delivered, and we're going to wait only 2 seconds. So let's run this code. First, I'm going to just change the time because it's not 7:21 anymore, but I'm going to set it to 7:25. And now run. So I paste the number and it says in 18 seconds WhatsApp will open, and after 15 seconds the message will be delivered. So 15 seconds here is the same what we set here. This is the default, but we could change it. But that's not important for what we're doing right now. So here another WhatsApp window was opened, and it says here again test, as you can see here. And now let's wait 15 seconds for the message to be delivered. So just a couple seconds more, and here it's test, and that window or the tab was closed, as you can see. Great. And with that, we finished the first project. And before moving on to the next one, I want to tell you about a Python course that you can take after completing these projects. This course is called Python Data Fundamentals and is available on DataCamp, which is the sponsor of this video. DataCamp is a platform where you can learn Python from a team of experts in the comfort of your browser, with video lessons and fun coding challenges and projects. What I really like about DataCamp is that you learn by doing. You watch bite-sized videos and then you apply that knowledge by doing hands-on exercises and coding yourself directly on their platform. The Python Data Fundamentals course in DataCamp includes over 30 hours of content divided into 7 modules, where you learn libraries like Seaborn and Matplotlib to create data visualizations and pandas to work with data frames. You'll also learn how to use statistics to analyze data with Python and conduct exploratory data analysis. Additionally, the course includes 2 practical projects which are essential for consolidating all these concepts. If you're interested in getting into the world of data with Python, take a look at this course. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. Thanks DataCamp for sponsoring this video, and now let's continue with the next project. Alright, this second project is divided into 3 steps. First, we have to turn on two-step verification to send emails with Python, and this is something you have to do if you want to send an email from a Gmail account, and this is what we do in this second project. Then once we have turned on two-step verification, what we have to do is create a script to send an email with Python. We're going to use a couple of libraries to do this. And finally, we're going to add an attachment to this email. We're going to add a photo as an example to show you how to send an email with an attachment. All right, let's start with the first step. Okay, to send emails with Python, first we need to go to this website, myaccount.google.com. And then we have to go to security, and then we have to scroll down and turn on two-step verification. In the past, we could easily connect to Gmail with Python by turning on Less Secure App Access, but that option isn't available anymore. So what we have to do now is go to the section that says Sign in to Google, and then we have to turn on two-step verification to get a 16-character password that we can use to log in to Gmail using Python. Okay, now we click on two-step verification, and then we have to click on Get Started. Then we have to log in again, so we have to put our password. I'm going to put my password and click on Next. And then we have to write our phone number. Once you write your phone number, you have to click on Next, and then you're going to get a text message with the code that you have to introduce. So here I'm going to introduce my code, and then I'm going to click on Next. Now it's asking if we want to turn on two-step verification, and we have to click on turn on. And after this, a new page will load, and here we can verify that we successfully turned on two-step verification. So here I have a message that says two-step verification is on. So with this, we successfully turn on two-step verification. Once this is done, we have to go to myaccount.google.com, but now we have to go to app passwords. So I write here app passwords, then I press enter, and we have to log in again. So here I'm gonna write my password, and then I'm gonna click on next. So once we click on next, we're gonna see this page. Then we click on the first drop down and select the option that says other custom name. Then we can write any name we want. In my case, I'm gonna write Python and click on generate. After this, we're gonna get a pop-up, and in the yellow box is our 16-character password that we need to use to log in to Gmail using Python. So now copy this 16-character password, and then we can go to our text editor to start writing code. Okay, now that we turn on two-step verification on our Google account, and now that we have the 16-character password, it's time to send the email in Python. So first we have to define the email sender, the password, and the email receiver. So here I have the email sender, which is the email where we turn on two-step verification and where we got the 16-character password. So this is the email that I used. And well, now I'm gonna write the password. But to avoid showing the password here, what I'm gonna do is import OS. So previously I created an environment variable in my operating system, and I can call this to avoid showing my password on my script. So instead of writing my password, I'm gonna write here OS environment.get. And here I'm gonna write the variable that I created. So I created a variable that was named email_password. So this is the environment variable that I created in my operating system. You don't have to do this. You can only write here password. You can write your 16-character password here if you want, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna use this. So with this, I'm hiding my password. And finally, we have to set the receiver. So the email receiver doesn't need to be a Gmail account. It can be any type of email. And well, here I'm using my private email. So that's what I'm using for this tutorial. Okay, once this is set, we have to define the subject and the body of the email. So here I'm gonna write subject, and here I'm gonna write something like check out my new video. So this is the subject of this email that I'm using for this test. And now I'm gonna write the body. So here I write body equal to, and here I'm gonna open triple quotes. So I write 1, 2, and 3. And these triple quotes allows me to write multiple lines. So here I'm gonna write a message just to test this out. And the message is something like this. So I just paste it here, and it says, I've just published a new video on YouTube, and this is the link. So this is the body of my email, and this is the subject. So once this is done, what we have to do is import email message. So to do that, first we write here from email.message, and here we write import email message. And you don't have to install this library because this comes with Python. Okay, now let's instantiate email message. So I write email message parentheses and set this equal to em. So this em is an object that I'm gonna use to write the email. So once that we have this em object, what we have to do is define some elements of the email. So first I write em, and then open these square brackets and write from. So here we have to write the sender. So from, and here we write email_sender. Then we write em, then open quotes, and we write to, and in this case, this is equal to the receiver. So I write email_receiver. Then we have to define the subject. So we write em, square brackets, subject, and well, this is the subject that I have here. Finally, we have to define the body of this email. So we have to use the set_content method. So I write em.set_content, and here we write the body. So with this, we have all the elements of the email. And now to add a layer of security, I'm gonna import SSL. So here I import SSL. And this is a standard technology for keeping an internet connection secure and safeguarding any sensitive data that is being sent between two systems. So this adds a layer of security, and this is important if we want to send an email with some important data. So here to use this, we have to write SSL that create_default_context. So this is gonna be our context, and well, I set this equal to context. Now everything is done and we can send our email. And to do that, we have to import SMTP_lib. So here I import this, I write import SMTP_lib, and well, we can use this to send our email. So here I write with, and here I use SMTP_lib, and I use the method called SMTP_SSL. So now we have to define the email server, the port, and the context. So first, the email server is smtp.gmail.com. So this is our server because we're using Gmail in the email center, and this is the email that we're going to use to send this email. Then we have to use the port, which is 465, and finally we have to define the context. So I write context equal to context, and well, with this everything is ready. Then I write as, and here we can write the name of this expression. So I'm gonna write this as SMTP, and well, now we can log in, and also we can send that email. So first let's log in. So I write smtp.login, and we have to write the email and the password. So here I have the email_sender, and then the password is there too. So I write email_sender and then email_password. And then let's send the email. So I write smtp.sendMail. So now we have to define the sender and the receiver and also the content of this mail. So I write email_sender, then email_receiver, and then the em object. So here I write em, and to give a proper format, I'm going to use the asString method. So I write that as a string. So here we have the em object that contains all these elements, and we're giving a proper format with this as_string. With this, everything is ready. So I can right click and run this code. So I'm gonna run this, and hopefully everything will be fine. So now it's running, and well, I got a message of success. And now I'm gonna check the inbox of my private email to see if I got a new email. So I go here, and here I see that I have a new email, which is check out my new video. So this is the subject of this email, and I have the content. So this is the body. So it's the same. So check out my new video, and here I publish a new video on YouTube. So it's the same that we said before. And that's it. That's how you send an email using Python. And by the way, if you get an SSL error, what you have to do is go to your application. So I'm going here, and you have to search this Python folder. And inside this Python folder, you will find a file named install.certificates.command. And once you find this file, you have to double click on it to install some certificates. And after you install this, you shouldn't see any SSL error. And that's it for this video. In this video, we learn how to send an email using Python. Alright, in the previous video, we learned how to send an email using Python. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to add an attachment so we can add a photo or any other file that we want. Okay, to do this, first, I'm going to import a library called imghdr. And to do that, I only have to write import img hdr. And well, I'm not sure if this library comes with Python. In case you don't have this library, you can install it here on the terminal. So we only have to write pip install img hdr. So that's in case you don't have it. And once we have this, we can add a photo to our email. So here I wrote here attach file, and well, we only have to add a small code to attach this file. In this case, a photo. So I'm going to use a photo that I have here that I call photo.jpg, and well, I'm going to use this photo for this test. So here I'm going to read this photo. So I write with, and then I use the open function. So I write photo.jpg, and I'm going to read this with RB, which stands for read bytes. And then I use as, and I'm going to set a name for this expression. And this name is going to be file. Then I open I write this colon, and I have to read this file. So to do that, I write file.read. And well, I'm going to set this equal to file_data. So this is basically the data that I'm reading. And once I have this, I need to get the name and the type of this file. And to do that, I first use file.name. So I use the name attribute, and with this we get the name of this file. So I write this equal to file_name. And then to get the type of this file, we have to use again this file.name. But now we have to use the imghdr library. So I write imghdr, and we use the what method. And then we put this file.name inside this parentheses. And with this, we're going to get the type of this file. So we set this equal to, and I write file_type. So great. With this, we have the type and we have the name of this file. And we only need to add the attachment now. Okay, now I'm going to use the email message that we have here. So I'm going to use the em object, and then I'm going to use a method called add_attachment. So here we have to define the file that we read before, which is file_data, and then we have to add the following parameters. So first is file name, that's the first parameter, and we set this equal to our file_name variable. Then we have to add the parameter subtype, and we set this equal to file_type. And finally, we have to add the parameter main type and set this equal to image. And now everything's done. So here you can use any other photo that you have. I'm using this photo for testing, and well, you can use any other photo, but make sure that this photo is inside the same folder where your Python file is located. So it has to be in the same folder. And well, once you have the photo, you can run this script. So now I'm going to right click here and run this script to see the results. So now let's give it a second, and after this I'm going to check the inbox of my private email to verify that we sent the email. So here I got a message of success, and now let's go to my private email, and here I got a new email. So I'm going to open this email, and here we have the title, then we have the body, and here we have also one attachment. So I click here and we see that we have the photo that I added in the script. So it's photo.jpg, and well, this is the photo that I added here. And well, that's it for this video. In this video, we'll learn how to add an attachment to an email using Python. In this final project, we're going to generate Excel reports from a dataset using Python. First, we're going to create a pivot table from the dataset that we're going to use in this project. Then we're going to add some elements using Python like bar charts, Excel formulas, and more. And finally, I'm going to show you how to generate Excel reports just with one click. We're going to turn our Python script into an executable so that we can double click on it and generate our Excel report automatically. All right, let's start with the first part of this project. Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to create pivot tables using Python. So here we have the typical sales data that we have to work with in Microsoft Excel. So we usually have to create pivot tables using Excel. But now we're going to create a pivot table using Python. And in this case, we're going to create a pivot table that tells us how much people spend in each product line. So we're going to divide by gender, male and female, and we're going to see how much each gender spend in product line. So we're going to do this with Python, and first we have to read this Excel file. So I'm going here and we have to use pandas as usual. So I import pandas as PD. And then to read this Excel file, we have to use read_Excel. So this is an Excel file because here we have the XLSX extension. So that's why I'm using read Excel and not read CSV. So now I just have to write supermarket_sales.xlsx. And well, this is the name of the file. And now I'm going to set a name to this. So df equal to, and with this we have the data frame. So we read this Excel file and we put this inside a data frame. So with this, we're reading this Excel file. So now if you want, we can print this. So I print this data frame and now we'll see the result. And well, here I didn't write the name correctly. So I didn't write supermarket. So I write supermarket now, and we have here the data frame. And as you can see, we got here the same data that is on the left, but now is here printed in PyCharm. So now to make a pivot table, what we have to do is use the pivot_table method. So what we have to do is write df.pivot_table, and then we have to indicate the index, the columns, and the values for this pivot table. Great. And now I'm going to show you the columns that we're going to work with. So these are the columns in yellow. So the gender column, the product line column, and the total column. So I'm going to select these columns so we only see these three columns in our data frame. So to do that, first we have to write df, which is the name of our data frame, and then write double square brackets to select multiple columns. So to select one column, we write just a pair of square brackets, and if we want to select multiple columns, we have to write double square brackets. So now we indicate the columns that we want to select. So in this case is the gender column, then is the, I think, product line column. So I just copy this one, and finally is the total column. So total. So with this, we have the three columns that we wanted. So now I can set df equal to this, and now my data frame will have only these three columns. So if I print this, you'll see that we only have three columns, and these are the columns that we selected. So this is a good practice when you only want to focus on some columns and you don't want to see all the columns that is in the file. Great. Now let's continue with our pivot table. So I have here the pivot table, and we have to define which are the index, the columns, and the values. So first, what we have to do is remember the goal of this pivot table. So the goal is to see how much each gender spent in each product line. So if that's our goal, probably we want the gender in the index, and we want the product line in the columns. And also we want to sum the amount of money spent on each product. So now let's define the parameters. First, the index. So index is going to be the gender. Then the column is going to be the product line. So I said here product line. Then we have the values. And as I said before, this is going to be the amount of money. So this is going to be total. And finally, we have the aggregates function that we want to apply. So in this case, we have to write aggfunc. And this is the operation that we want to apply. So in this case, I want to sum. Okay, with this, our pivot table is ready. And now I only have to set this equal to, and I'm going to name this pivot_table. So that's the name of my pivot table. And well, now I'm just going to put this here, and well, this is ready. And now I'm gonna print this pivot table so you can see its content. So print pivot underscore table. So now I run this and let's see the result. So here we have our pivot table. And as we can see, we successfully built this pivot table. So in the index, we have the gender, male and female. Then in the column, we have the product line. So there are different product line, electronic accessories, sports and travel, and so on. And finally, in the values, we have the numeric data that was in the total column. So here we have this numeric data, and well, we use the sum as our aggregate function. So we sum the values in each category. And now to see the content of this pivot table much better, I'm gonna export this pivot table in an Excel file. So what I'm gonna do is delete this, and here I'm gonna export this pivot table using to_Excel. And then I'm gonna set a name for this Excel file. So I'm gonna set it equal to pivot_table.xlsx. And we can also set the name of the sheet. In this case, I'm gonna name the sheet as report. So this is the name of my sheet. And then we can also set in which row this data is supposed to be exported. So we only have to add the start row parameter, and in this case I'm going to export this in row number 4. And with this pivot table is going to be exported in an XLSX file, and the first sheet is going to be named report, and this is going to be exported in row number 4. And by the way, you can also round the numbers inside this pivot table, so you only have to write here that round and 0. So with this you round the numbers inside this pivot table. So now I run this. So now I should have this file in my working directory, and since I don't have Microsoft Excel in my computer, I'm gonna open this in Google Sheets. Okay, I just opened this file, and well, it's named pivot_table. It's an Excel file, and I just opened this in Google Sheets. And well, this pivot table was exported in the row that we specified, and we see that the sheet is named report here on the bottom, and that's it. We successfully created this pivot table with Python, and we exported this into an Excel file. In the previous video, we used this sales data to create this pivot table with Python. And now we're going to use this pivot table to create a bar chart. And to do that, we're going to use a library called OpenPyXL. So first we go here and we open the terminal and we install OpenPyXL. So we only have to write pip install OpenPyXL. So now we press enter, and with this we're gonna install this library, and this library is gonna help us do things we will do in Microsoft Excel, like creating charts or summing values in columns and more things. So now let's import this library. So I write from OpenPyXL import, and the first thing we're going to import is load_workbook. And we're going to use this load_workbook to read our Excel file. So the name of my Excel file is pivot_table. So now I use this load_workbook, and here I write the name of the file. So I write pivot_table.xlsx. And now I set this equal to WB, which stands for workbook. And now I'm going to select the sheet I'm going to work with. So to do that, I have to write WB and then open square brackets. And then we have to write the name of the sheet. In this case, I'm going to use the sheet report, which is here. So the name is report. And now I only have to write report, and this is the name of my sheet. So I set this equal to sheet. All right, with this we have the workbook and we also have the sheet. And now we can use these two variables to manipulate our file. Okay, now what we're going to do is select the active rows and columns that are in our sheet. So here we have some active rows and columns, and this is determined by the cells where our pivot table is located. So here we see that our pivot table is located between A5 and G7. So we have to locate the minimum row, the minimum column, the maximum row, and the maximum column. So let's do this. So I go here, and now we use WB, and then we have to use the active attribute. So I write active, And first, let's locate the minimum column. So I write that min underscore column. So now I duplicate this, and now I do the same, but now with the maximum column. So now maximum column, then minimum row, and then maximum row. So now I set this equal to, and I'm gonna set just names that are equal to this. So first minimum column, then maximum column, and so on. So now with the minimum row, and finally with the maximum row. So now we have these 4 variables, and now I'm going to print these 4 variables so you can understand much better what they mean. So first the minimum column, and well, then maximum column, then minimum row, and maximum row. These 4 variables are going to be useful when we make our bar chart. So we get 1, 7, 5, and 7. So for minimum column, we get 1, and for maximum column, 7. So let's go and check here. So minimum column 1, so that's correct because the minimum column is A, which represents 1, and the maximum column where our pivot table is located is G. So it's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, maximum column 7. So minimum 1 and maximum 7. So that's correct. And then we have minimum row and maximum row, so 5 and 7. So now let's check here, and the minimum row is 5 and the maximum is 7. So this is based where our pivot table is located right now, because this is the only element that is in our sheet. So that's why this is our reference. All right, now that we have these minimum and maximum values, we're going to use these values to create our bar chart. So first I delete this, and now I'm going to import a bar chart from OpenPyXL. So I write from OpenPyXL.chart import bar chart. And now I'm going to instantiate a bar chart object. So I write bar chart and open parentheses, and this is equal to bar chart. So now I have this bar chart object, and now we have to do this. First, we have to import a reference, and this reference is going to have the minimum and maximum value. So I write here, comma, reference. So I'm going to use this reference, and then I'm going to put inside parentheses the minimum and maximum values. Okay, so first, let's indicate the sheet we're working in. So first sheet, and then we have to indicate the minimum and maximum values. So here I write min column or min underscore col, and then I write min column, and I do the same for the other. So I only have to duplicate and add comma. So here I add commas, but we have to change here to maximum column, and then to minimum row, and finally to maximum row. And with this we have the 4 parameters, and now I just have to change the values. So minimum column, then maximum column, then minimum row, and finally maximum row. So okay, now these are the reference, but now we have to split the reference in 2. So first we have the data, this is the data, and then we have the categories. This is the categories. So we have to create 2 references. So let's start with the data. So first we have the data, and I'm going to set this equal to data. So I write equal to data, and well, now I'm just going to format this properly, and then I'm going to explain you how this works. So first I'm going to put this in one line so you can see it much better. And okay, now we have to make a little change to this reference, and I'm going to explain you why. So here we have minimum column, minimum row, and maximum row, but these are the minimum and maximum values of the whole pivot table. So here we have the whole pivot table, and the minimum value, as I told you before, is A, so 1. But for the data, the minimum value is V, so number 2. And the maximum value is still G, so 7. So the minimum column is 2 and the maximum is 7. So here what we have to do is write minimum column plus 1. So here I have to add +1. And as I told you before, the maximum column is going to be the same because it shares the same maximum column with the pivot table. So it's the same maximum column. And then in the rows, the minimum and maximum row, you can see that the data in yellow has the same minimum and maximum row compared with the pivot table. So it's the same. So right now we're analyzing the area in yellow, and it has the same minimum and maximum row compared to the whole pivot table. Okay, so the only thing that changed was the minimum column because it starts in B. So here we added minimum column +1. Okay, now let's do the same, but now for the categories. So now I write categories, and here I'm gonna delete this and let's analyze. So the categories are in green. So the minimum column is still A, that's correct, but the maximum column is not G anymore, but is still A. So here, what we have to do is write in maximum column the value of minimum column. So the minimum and the maximum column are gonna be min underscore column. Okay, so now let's see the minimum and maximum row. So the minimum row is not 5 anymore, but is 6. And the maximum row is 7. So here, what we have to do is add minimum row +1. Because minimum row is the reference of the whole pivot table. So 5 + 1, 6. So here I go and add +1. And the maximum row is going to be still 7. So it's going to be the same. It shares the maximum row with the whole pivot table. So it remains the same, and here I will leave it as max underscore row. And with this we have the references for our data and the category. Just one little detail you need to know here. I highlighted these two areas in yellow and in green, so you can know which are the data and which are the categories. But this is the same concept that you will follow in any pivot table. So the categories are going to be always on the left here, and this doesn't include the header, so not this one. And the data does include the header. So in the data, we include the numeric data, which is right here, and also we include the headers. So you have to follow the same concept. All right, now let's create a bar chart. So now that I have the references, I'm gonna use this bar chart object. So I just copy bar chart, and now I'm gonna use a method called add underscore data. And we already have the data. So the data is here in my data variable. So I only have to add data, and then we have to indicate where we want to create this bar chart. So I'm going to create this in the cell B12. And well, with this, our bar chart is going to be created in B12. All right, now let's add a title to this bar chart, and then let's add a style. So first, let's add the title. So I write bar chart dot title, and we set this equal to, and we can write anything we want for our title. In this case, I'm going to write sales by product line, because this is what our bar chart is about. So sales by product line, and then I'm going to change the style. So I'm going to write that style, and this is basically the style that our bar chart is going to have. So when we create charts in Microsoft Excel, we have different styles, so different colors and different shapes, and we can select here only with numbers. So for example, we can use style number 1, style number 3, or style number 5. So for now, we can only guess the number, and then we can see the results when we export this bar chart. All right, now let's save the results. So I write WB, which stands for workbook, and then save. So that's save, and I'm going to export this as bar chart .xlsx. So with this, we're going to save all the results in this Excel file. So now what I'm going to do is run all of this and see the results. So I run this. Well, we got a message of success. But before I open the file, here I made a little mistake. here I forgot to add the categories. So we created categories, but we didn't add it to the bar chart. So here I'm gonna write here bar chart that set underscore categories, and inside I'm gonna put these categories that we created. So I put this inside, and here we also, this shouldn't be here, this B12 shouldn't be here, sorry, this should be in another method. So first we add data and we add categories to our bar chart, and then once this is done, what we have to do is write sheet that add underscore chart, and then we put our bar chart here. So I'm gonna write bar chart, and then I'm gonna set the cell where we want this bar chart to be added. So I set this equal to B12, and this bar chart is gonna be added in B12. So just a recap, first we add the data and the categories to our bar chart, and then we use the add underscore chart method to indicate where we want to add this bar chart. Okay, now I'm gonna add just one more parameter here. So I'm gonna add title from data, and here equal to true. So we have the title from data in this bar chart. So with this, our bar chart is ready. So now I can run this and see the results. So I now run this, and well, we got this message of success. And now I'm gonna open this Excel file so we can see the results. All right, here I open the bar chart file that we created before, and here we have the pivot table, and also we have the bar chart. So this bar chart corresponds to the data in our pivot table. So we created this using the data here and also the categories here on the left. And as you can see, we got here the title that we set here, so sales by product line. We also got this style number 5, so these are the colors and the format we have. And well, we did all of this using OpenPyXL. And one of the coolest things we did when we wrote this code is that no matter how many rows this pivot table has, our code is gonna work, because here we use minimum and maximum values here. So if this pivot table has more rows and more columns, this is still gonna work because we use references. And that's it for this video. In this video, we learn how to create bar charts using OpenPyXL. Okay, in the previous video, we learned how to create a bar chart. So we use this pivot table to create this bar chart that you see here. And now we're gonna see how to create formulas like this one. So for example, we're gonna see how to sum these two values, but now we're gonna do this with Python. So instead of writing this formula manually, we're gonna do this here with Python. All right, first I'm gonna show you the easiest way to create a formula in this spreadsheet using Python. So here, I'm gonna first write this formula. So I write sum, and well, we have this formula. And now I'm gonna copy this formula. So the easiest way to create this formula is just writing this in Python. So first I'm gonna paste it here, and I'm gonna put this in quotes. And well, I'm gonna here set this cell, which is B8, equal to this formula. So here I write sheet. So first, of course, you have to read this Excel file. So we have this bar chart.xlsx, which is the name of my file that we created before in the previous video. And then we have to select the sheet. So we have to select this report sheet. This is the report sheet that we have here. And well, we name this as sheet. So now we select sheet, and we select the cell we want to work with. So in this case, B8. And then we write this, so sheet B8, and this equal to this expression. So this is basically the same as doing this. So we have B8 here, and we write this equal to this formula. So it's basically the same. So we have this, but now in code. And now to complete this, I'm gonna set a style for this cell. So I only have to write the name of this cell, and then that style. I'm gonna set this equal to currency. So the format is gonna be currency. And well, we're gonna have here a dollar sign, I think. And well, we're gonna have the sum, and this sum is gonna be in currency format. So okay, now let's run this and let's see the results. So first I'm gonna delete this because I don't want to do this manually. So I delete this, and now let's see the result. We should have the same, but now with Python. So I run this, and well, we see the result, but actually we didn't save this file. So I'm gonna write here WB just to make sure everything was saved, and that's saved, and I'm gonna export this in another file. So this is gonna be called report.xlsx. So now I run this, and let's see the results. So now we have this file, and well, let's open this file. All right, I have the file here opened, and as you can see, we have here the sum that we did before. So here is the formula, and here's the value. And we have here the $sign because we set this cell with the currency style. So great. So with this, we could create this, we could make this sum using Python, but we did this for only one cell. And what if now we want to do this sum for all the cells that are here? So probably we want to calculate the sum for all the cells that are here. So now let's do that. So the simplest thing that you can do is just copy, and well, you can duplicate this, and for example for B9, or actually for C8, you can just change here C and C, and then you can write C6 and then C7. So that's what you can do. But now I'm going to show you a better way to do this with a for loop. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to comment this out. So instead of doing this manually, like for every column you have, we can use a for loop. So first, we're going to use these references that we had before. So we're going to use the minimum and maximum columns and rows. So here, first, I'm going to loop through the rows that we have here. So let's see which rows, or actually let's see which columns we're going to use, because we're going to sum these columns between B and G. So I'm going to use the columns that are in this range, so from B to G. And to do that, we have to use the minimum column plus 1. So minimum column is A plus 1 B, and the maximum column. So okay, let's do this. So first, minimum column plus 1. So basically this is the range where our data is. So as you might remember from previous videos, this was in yellow, and this belonged to our data. So B to G. Okay, so minimum column plus 1, and then the maximum column. So these are our two references, and we need to loop through this range. So to do that, I'm going to use the range method. So I write here range, open parentheses, and then we have to write the minimum value. And the minimum value is min underscore column plus 1. And then we have to write the maximum value. But when we use range, we have to write always the maximum value plus 1, because range gets this value minus 1. So it's kind of tricky. I'm going to show you here. But first, I'm going to use this for loop. So for I in range. And then let's print this. So first, I'm going to print, let's say from 1 to 10. So 1 to 10. So you can see what I'm talking about. So then I print I. And let's see here. I'm not going to save this. So I just want to show you how this works. So when we print a range from 1 to 10, you see that we got 1, 2, 3 until 9. So we got the last element minus 1. So that's why I said before that we have to use here plus 1. So if we write here plus 1, we actually get the number 10. So that's why here, I'm going to delete this. I'm using max underscore column plus 1 because I want to get the maximum column here. So now I'm going to print I, and we can see the result. So here we got from 2 until 7, and that's correct because here we want from B until G. So B is number 2 and G is number 7. So that's great. We got the columns here. So we got from 2 until 7. Great. Now I'm going to import something called get underscore column underscore letter. And to do that, we have to write from OpenPyXL dot utilities, or actually it's just utils. And then we have to write import get underscore column underscore letter. And this helps me get the letter from a column. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to just write here get underscore column underscore letter, and inside parentheses I write the I. So here if I print, I'm going to print I, and then I'm going to print this so we can compare the values. So here I run this, and as you can see, we get 2 for the column B, we get 3 for column C, and we get 7 for column G. So as you can see, this gets the letter based on the number. So if we give 7, this returns G. If we give 2, this returns B. So that's what get underscore column underscore letter does. And we're going to use these letters to create this formula. So here I'm going to copy and paste it so we can see much better what we're going to do. So here, instead of writing B8, for example, I'm going to open an F string, and I'm going to open here curly braces to make this a variable. So instead of writing B, I'm going to use a letter. So here I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to set this equal to letter. So this is my variable, letter equal to, and well, this expression. So here we got the letter, for example, letter B, and then instead of writing here B, I'm going to write letter. So we got here the letter and the number. So now I'm going to do the same here in the formula. I'm going to open here this F string, and then instead of writing B, here I open square brackets twice, and then I write letter here and here. So we have letter, and well, with this we have the letter in our formula. And actually we can do the same here. So instead of B, again, one more time letter, and well, this is done. And finally, we have to change the numbers. So instead of writing 8, we have to use a reference. In this case, I'm going to use the maximum and minimum rows. So for example, here we had B8, and this represents this cell B8, and this is the maximum row plus 1. So this sum formula is always going to be located one cell below our pivot table. So we only have to sum the last row of our pivot table, or the maximum row of our pivot table, plus 1. And this guarantees that we're going to get this cell that we have here, B8. So for example, row 7 plus 1 is 8. So we got this row 8. So now let's write this here. So instead of writing 8, we have to write the maximum row plus 1. And well, the same goes here. Maximum row plus 1. And as you might expect, the formula is always going to be located in maximum row plus 1. So that always happens. And well, then we have to edit this number 6 and number 7. So to do this, we have to take a different approach. So here, let's see. So we sum always the range where the data is. So in this case, B6 and B7. So here we can say that the minimum value is always the minimum row plus 1. Because in the minimum row, we always have the headers. And after the headers is the data. So that always happens. And the maximum row is going to be where the range ends. So for example, this one ends in B7. And this is exactly where our pivot table ends. So we have minimum row plus 1, which is this, and then we have maximum row. So this is our range. So now let's do this here. So instead of writing 6, I write minimum row plus 1. And instead of writing 7, I write maximum row. And this is going to be true as long as you have a pivot table with this format, which is actually the standard format for a pivot table. Yeah, you always have this header, and you always have these categories and always the data is here. So basically this is going to work usually. So now that we have this, I'm gonna first comment this out because I don't want to print this I. And what I'm gonna do here is print the value. So I'm gonna comment this out and let's see if we did all of this correctly. So I'm gonna print this and let's see the result. So now I run this and well, we get here some B6, B7, which is what we had here before. But now we also have C6, C7, D6, D7 until G6, G7. So this is basically what's gonna be here. So we get all of these formulas. And that's great because we did this with a for loop and we didn't do this with manually one by one. So great. Now that we verified this is correct, I'm gonna comment this out and I'm gonna uncomment this. And actually I'm gonna delete this because I'm not gonna use it. All right, now that everything is ready, I'm gonna uncomment this wb.save and I'm gonna create this report. So I'm gonna run this and let's see what happens. So I run this and now I have this file in my working directory. So I'm gonna open this to see the results. All right, I just opened this file and as you can see, we have all the formulas that we created before with the for loop in Python. And well, as I mentioned before, this is gonna work. The code that we wrote here is gonna work as long as this pivot table has this format. But anyway, you can add more columns. So you can add here more columns or you can add here more rows. But well, the format has to be something like this. And that's it for this video. In this video, we learn how to create formulas in our spreadsheet using Python. Alright, so far we learned how to create our pivot table, how to create formulas for multiple columns, and also how to create this bar chart using Python. And now what we're gonna do is complete this report by adding a title and subtitle and also changing the font. So let's do this. So I'm going here to the right and well, first we have to import load_workbook from OpenPyXL. So we read this Excel file, which I name report.xlsx. And then, well, we have to select the first sheet, which is the report sheet. So once we have this, we can have access to the cells. So I write sheet and then we open square brackets. So I want to put the title here in A1. So what I have to do is write here A1 and then we can write the title. So I'm going to put a title which is a sales report. So this is my title. And then I'm going to write a subtitle in A2. And this is going to be named as the month. So I'm going to write January. So we have the title, sales report, and then we have the month in A2. Okay, now let's edit the font. So I'm going to edit the font of the title. So I write that font. But first we have to import font from OpenPyXL. So I write from OpenPyXL.styles import font. So now I can use this font. So I only have to write font. And then we can choose the font we want. So in this case, I'm going to choose Arial. So I write this. And then we can select bold, for example. So I'm going to set this equal to true. So this title is going to be in bold. And then we can set the size. So I write size equal to, and you can choose any size you want. So I'm going to choose 20 for this. And then we can do the same for the subtitle. So I write sheet, then A2, that font. So this is the font attribute. And then we can change this using this font that we imported. And well, I'm going to set this equal to Arial. And here you can choose any font that you know from Microsoft Excel. In my case, I don't remember so many fonts, so I'm just choosing Arial. So then I write bold equal to true, and well, size, this one a bit smaller, in this case 10. And well, after this, as usual, we have to save the results. So we write wb.save, and I'm going to set the name as report_January. So this is gonna be my file, and now I only have to run this, and well, I'm gonna open this to see the results. Alright, I just opened this file, report_January, and here we have the title, sales report, and this is in bold, and well, the size is 20, as you can see here, and we also have the subtitle, January, and again, it's in bold, but now the size is 10. So, we successfully created this title and subtitle, and we could edit the font. And that's it. Now, feel free to go to our code and hover on the font class that we have here. So you can see all the parameters that you can use. So for example, strike, color, scheme, size, bold, italic, and so on. Alright, in this video, we're gonna put all the pieces together and we're gonna convert the pivot table into an Excel file. So we're gonna use the 3 scripts that we created in the previous videos. So this one added a chart, this one here added formulas, and this one here added a title and a subtitle. So I put these 3 scripts together in this script that I named pivot to report, and well, this is basically the same. I just made a little change here. I added a variable that I named month, and well, here we can set the month of the year, and well, this is going to be also the month of this report. And since I added this here, I changed the name of our file that is going to be exported. So here, instead of writing report_January as we had before, here we have report_January. Here, what I did is introduce these curly braces to put this month variable. So we can change here, for example, March, December, and our Excel file is going to have the same name, report_March or report_December. And also here in the subtitle, I set the month. So we have here in the report, we have the name of the month. So with that, our script is done. So this is basically the same that we have here in number 2, number 3, and number 4, but now with this month variable. And well, the input is going to be our pivot table that we have here, and the output is going to be a report with the formulas and with the bar chart and well, with the title and subtitle. So now let's run this, and well, we got a message of success, and now let's see the result. And here I have the file. So the file's name report_February, and well, we have the title, we have the subtitle, here we have the formulas for each column, and well, we also have the bar chart. So we successfully convert this pivot table into this report. And we could do all of this by putting together the scripts that we wrote in the previous videos. And that's it for this video. In the following video, I'm going to show you how to convert this script into an executable file so you can automate all of this even more. Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to convert this Py file into an executable. So right now we have our script, which is a Py file, and we're going to convert this into an executable so we can automate all of this. So first, what we have to do before converting this Py file into an executable is importing 2 libraries. So we're going to import OS, and we're going to import also sys. So I write OS and then sys. So now we have to create a path for our executable. And to do that, we're going to do this. So we write os.path.dir_name. And then we write sys.executable. And this represents the path where our executable is going to be located. So now I set this equal to application_path. And we need to do this because when we convert a script into an executable, the path becomes a bit messy. So we need to make sure that we specify exactly where is the path where our executable is located. So this is why we do this. All right, now instead of writing here the name of the file as we did before, we have to join this name of the file with the path that we have here. So here, instead of only writing this, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna create an input path. So I write input_path, and we set this equal to os.path.join, and we're gonna join the application path with the name of our file. So the result is going to be the input path. And this input path is what we're going to read here in load_workbook. So here we need to make sure that this pivot table.xlsx is going to be located in the same folder where our executable is going to be located. So I'm going to do this later. When I create the executable file, I'm going to put this Excel file inside the same folder. So you have to do the same. Okay, now that we have the input path, I'm going to create also an output path. So I scroll all the way down, and here, instead of writing the name of the file, I'm going to create an output path. So I write output_path, and we set this equal to os.path.join. So we have to join path again. And well, again, application path, and we join this with the name of the file. So here we write, and with this we have the output path. So I write output path, and we put this inside that save. And well, with this, we're going to export this report file inside the same folder where our executable file is going to be located. So the input and the output are going to be in the same folder where the executable is going to be located. And that's something that we should keep in mind. All right, now to customize our automation even more, what I'm going to do is ask the name of the month. So instead of just setting the name of the month, what I'm going to do here is write month equal to, and here use the input function. So instead of just writing the name of the month, every time we want to run this executable file, we're going to ask the name of the month. So I'm going to write here introduce month. So this is very cool because every time you run the executable file, you can change the name of the month. So it's not always going to be February, but it can be March, it can be December, it can be July, any month you want. And all the changes are going to be seen here in the code. So here, when you set that month here, it's going to be the same month that you write here. So that's very cool. And well, I'm going to delete this. And with this is done. So now we can convert this Py file into executable because we already set the input and the output paths. So now we can open the terminal, and well, here we can run the command that converts the Py file into executable. So to do that, first we have to go to the folder where our script is located. So in my case, my script is named 6.py2exe, and this script is located in the tutorial folder. So you can see this here. And well, in the terminal, I also have to be in the tutorial folder, which is this one. So once you are in the folder where your script is located, you have to run the following command. PyInstaller, then --, one file, and then you have to write the name of your script. So in my case, 6.py-2-exe.py. So this is the name of my script. And well, in case you don't have PyInstaller installed, you can write pip install PyInstaller. Well, in case you don't have it, but probably you have this library installed because we already did this step many times in this course. So, okay, once this is done, you only have to press enter, and after this, an executable is gonna be created into a folder named dist. So we're gonna create two folders, a build folder and a dist folder, and the executable is going to be located inside the dist folder. So we got a message of success, and now let's check this folder. And now if we go here on the left panel, we see that we have two folders, the build folder and the dist folder, and inside the dist folder we have this executable. And now I'm going to open this folder. So here I'm in the same folder but now in a different view, but now you can see that, well, we have the executable. So to run this, first we need to put the pivot_table inside this folder. So we put this file inside this folder because, as I mentioned before, we need this file in the same folder where the executable is located. So now that we have this file, we can run this executable. And to do this on a Mac, I'm gonna open with terminal. So I open with the terminal, and now I have the terminal. And as you might remember, I added an input in my code. So here we have this input. So as you can see, it's asking me for the month. So it says introduce month. So what I have to do here is just write the month. So I'm gonna write, let's say March. So this is the name of the month, and well, I press enter, and as you can see, this was executed. So we have here a new file named report_march.xlsx, and this has the report with the title, the subtitle, the formulas, and the bar chart. And well, I can open this one here, but I don't have Microsoft Excel, so it's gonna open with the Numbers app in my Mac. And what I'm gonna do is open this one here in Google Sheets. So I have this report_march, and well, you can see all this data was successfully created. So we have the formulas, we have the title, we have the subtitle with the name of the month I said before, which is March. And well, also we have this bar chart. And well, that's it. We successfully automated our Excel report.